The Vilna Gaon was known to say that when examining the Amidah really well, you'll come across that there's a blessing there that the words seem to be redundant. You take a look at the blessing. Baruch atah Hashem, mish'an u'mivtach latzadikim. We're saying, Hashem, you are the mish'an and the mivtach. What is mish'an? Mish'an is something that you lean on like a leaning stick. Mivtach is the one that you rely on, Bitachon. Hashem, you are the one that the tzaddikim lean on, and you are the one that the tzaddikim are boteach and rely on. Says the Vilna Gaon, isn't that redundant? Why do I need two words to basically say the same thing? Mish'an u'mivtach. Hare, if I'm coming to rely on Hashem, then I'm leaning on Him. And if I'm leaning on Hashem, I'm relying on Him. They're basically two words that are saying the same thing. Answers the Vilna Gaon something out of this world. Yisod Gadol and Bitachon. Says the Gaon, the ways of Hashem are amazing. To ask a Jew in a tough moment, in the dark times, to be boteach, and simply to close his eyes and completely rely on Hashem, sometimes it's not that easy. Sometimes it's tough. To ask him to come outright straight away in a really tough moment and just say, that's it, get a hold of yourself, close your eyes, and rely only on Hashem, and He'll take care of you. In a tough moment, that's not that easy. So Hashem wants to help us. He wants to help us to come to the real bitachon even at a tough moment. So you know what He does? He gives us the mish'an in order to get to the mivtach. What does that mean? That means a lot of times a person will find that they're in such difficulties. They're in such a hard situation, and they don't see any way out. They got a problem, and they have no way to solve it. They're in a matzav that's so difficult, they don't know how to get out. And they start thinking to themselves, what am I going to do? And people start telling them, believe in Hashem, rely on Hashem. But it's not so easy. So you know what Hashem does? He sends them a wink. He makes something out of the ordinary happen. And that little something that happens grabs your attention for the moment, and it kind of opens your eyes to say, hey, that's not normal. Correct. Every time something not normal happens, that's Hashem's signature. It's the writing on the wall that says, I'm here. Let me give you an example. A few weeks ago, a guy that we all know, he was going through a tough time. They suspected to find in his wife, lo aleinu, a certain mahla. Young guy, young girl. And the guy calls me up and he tells me, Rabbi, we need tefillot. Please, my wife is so young. Please, we need real help. Daven, we're all going to pray together. Okay, what day is the biopsy scheduled for? What day are they doing the procedure to test to see chas v'shalom what it's going to be? He told me the date is on this coming Monday. I said, okay. I guarantee you that Monday, we're all going to get up early. We're going to go vatikin. We're going to raise the heavens. We're going to pray our hearts out. And Hashem should be merachem. We're relying on Hashem that the tests, be'ezrat Hashem, will come out to be good. Okay? And sure enough, that Monday, we wake up early, vatikin. We prayed our hearts out, mamish. We begged Borei Olam to be merachem, that the tests, the biopsy should come back clear, everything should be well. Okay? Monday afternoon, I'm waiting for a phone call. You know, when you're mashkia, and you get up at 5 in the morning, and you go out and pray Vatikin, and you said your Tikkun Hatzot, and you really put your heart and soul out for a good friend, and you cry with real tears to Borei Olam, please be merachem on this guy, such a good guy, such a special guy, such an ish tziburi. Be merachem on him and his wife. So you want to hear what happened. You want to hear what came out. So that afternoon, I get a phone call from the guy. And right away, I heard his voice on the phone was upbeat. I said, hey, what's going on? He says, you're not going to believe this. My wife and I, we come down to the hospital, and somehow or other, the nurse tells us, there's a mistake. Somehow or other, we misscheduled you and other people. We overbooked. And we decided that the testing is not going to be today. We pushed it off till Wednesday. Till Thursday, rather. We pushed it off till Thursday. He says to me, Rabbi, they pushed it off. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, I woke up Vatikin, 5 in the morning, sitting there on the floor, Tikkun Hatzot. I said, okay, kol akava letova. If they pushed it off, that's great. When did they push it off to? They pushed it off to Thursday. 1 second, I think to myself, Thursday? Thursday's Purim. Psh! They pushed it off to Purim. I quickly called up Eretz Yisrael. I called up one of the big tzaddikim mekubalim. And I said to him, they pushed it off. He says, I know. I says, but Rebbe, I mean, they pushed it off to Purim. He says, yes. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. He says, if it would have happened today, who knows? He says, Baruch Hashem, they pushed it off to Purim. This is the Vilna Gaon's Yisod. Mish'an u'mivtach. Sometimes you're in a matziv that the world becomes so dark so quick that to ask the person in such a tough moment to just totally rely on Hashem, that everything's going to be taken care of and everything's going to be fine, is just a lot to ask for at that minute. So you know what Hashem does? He says, listen, I'm going to give you a wink. I'm going to show you a little clue, a little wake-up call. I want to show you that in this dark moment, I am with you. Step 1, Mish'an. Here's a guy in the darkest moment. He finds out that, God forbid, his wife might have such a mahla. He goes down to the hospital. They're scheduled for a biopsy. He can't even think straight. He didn't sleep in days. His head is all over the place. He walks in 7 a.m. in the morning thinking that this is it. And the nurse looks at him and says, sorry, oops, we made a big mistake. We got to reschedule you. We're rescheduling you for Thursday. Huh? That's not normal. That's out of the ordinary. Yeah. Anything not normal, out of the ordinary that takes place, it's Hashem's way of saying, hey, I'm right here. Look up. I'm with you. It's not normal what just took place, right? Because I wanted to show you that I pushed it off to Purim to show you I'm with you. And there's hope. And I'm holding your hand. And that's how Hashem helps us. He helps us to be able to come to Bitachon even in the tough moments. How? Mish'an u'miftach. First, he gives you a mish'an, something just to lean on. Something of a wink from heaven, an eye-opener that demonstrates to you, I'm here. Oh, wow, that wasn't normal. Hashem pushed it off to Purim. He showed me that he's here. Oh, you're here, Abba. umivtach, now I can be boteach in you. This is the explanation, the way the Gaon explains this blessing. Baruch ata Hashem, mish'an umivtach latzadikim. Not only you give us the ability to be boteach in you, but even in the tough moments when it's hard, you also give us the thing to lean on, the wink, the mish'an, in order to come to the mivtach, so that we'll be able to really rely on you in the truest of senses. Amazing. What a pshat. And those of us, God forbid we should never know, but if you ever find yourself in a tough situation, God forbid someone gets in trouble, or God forbid someone's waiting finally to get married after all these years, someone's waiting after all these years to have a child, someone's waiting after all these years to become healthy. Whatever the situation is that people are losing hope, you got to keep your eyes open for the winks of heaven, the mish'an. Because Hashem sends us every now and then these little wake-up calls to say, I didn't leave you. I'm still there with you. Matter of fact, I've been carrying you all along through your problem. And wait, now that you know I'm so close, and I did that crazy thing that just happened, just to get your attention, to show you that I'm here with you, now you have the confidence to get to the Bitachon, be poteach, and you'll see Be'ezat Hashem, I'll save you. What a pshat. So when people hear this, they say, does he really care that much, Rabbi? Does Hashem really care? Does he really feel my pain? Does he really feel what I'm going through? Does he really kind of in it with me? Or, he just comes down and saves me whenever he decides to, but up until that point, I want to tell you something. I've been hearing this a lot from people. In the olden years, they never would have the chutzpah to ask that question. It's funny how in this generation, they found the chutzpah to ask a lot of questions that last generations would never, ever have been caught dead asking. But that's okay, because it's better to ask the question and get a real answer than not to ask the question at all and then to harbor the doubt within. That's the worst. That's the worst. So to those people, I want you to hear the following. We're in the season now. We just finished the beautiful Purim and we're on our way to Pesach. And so many schools and so many chaburot are taking their reservations in the matzah factories. Now, the matzah factory is a sight to see. This is really something that if you've never been by a matzah factory, grab a Sunday, pick up your kids, take them out to the matzah factory, and do a great job of chinuch. With visual aid, show them the process. Show them how amazing it is of what it takes just to make one kosher matzah. And maybe the night of the Seder, when you hand that little boy a piece of matzah, it'll be a new experience. Because he knew a whole factory with people yelling and screaming and running and timers just to make that one kosher matzah. You go down to the matzah factory and you'll see a phenomenon. You'll see something incredible. What a workforce. What an assembly line. And everywhere you go in the matzah factory, there are clocks everywhere. There are timers everywhere because everything has it down to a science. And then you watch the process as they give you that famous matzah factory tour from the very beginning all the way down to the very talented gentleman standing by that massive oven. The guy that knows how to flip him in and flip him out in a quick enough time to make sure that the matzot are kasher. Because we all know that matzah needs to be done in 18 minutes or less in order for it to be kosher. I want to ask you guys, let's say you happen to be in the matzah factory and you watch the process, and there you're in that original room with all those people around the table, and the guy in the middle with that big piece of dough. He grabs those little balls of dough and starts throwing it around the table. Everyone grabs that piece and starts flattening it out with their wooden stools and their rolling pins until they get it down as thin as they can. And then they don't walk, they run it over to the guy at the head of the room that grabs it from there and brings it over to the guy by the oven and makes sure that after they put the holes in it with the machine, now they lay it out into the oven. L'shem matzot mitzvah. L'shem matzos mitzvah. You hear him yelling and screaming. 18 minutes on the shop clock. Because if it's a second over, it's no good. Really? Rabbi? You mean to tell me if that matzah is 18 minutes and 1 second, it's no good? That's right. If it's 18 minutes, it's kosher. You can use it the night of Pesach. 18 minutes and 1 second, it is chametz. And if you use that matzah, God forbid, on Pesach, you're looking at karet. What? But it's only a difference of 1 second. And honestly, if I would take 2 matzot and put it down on the table in front of you, and I tell you, hey, one matzah is 18 minutes. The other matzah is 18 minutes and 1 second. Pick which one's which. You don't have a shot. There's no way that you can tell the difference between an 18-minute matzah or a 17-and-a-half-minute matzah and an 18-minute and 1 second matzah. There's no way. You can tell the difference between two matzot of 1 second difference. No way. And yet, one is chametz, karet, and the other one is l'shem matzot mitzvah. How do you understand that? Could 1 second really make such a difference? And this is the message. One of the biggest messages. The message of the matzah. In the eyes of Hashem, the difference that 1 second can make. You see, when we were in Egypt and we were beaten in the tar pits, we were slaves that were being whipped day in, day out. We suffered in Egypt the suffering that was beyond human understanding. It was a literal, original Holocaust. And after the end of those 210 very bitter years, it came down to that moment. The moment of the night of Yetziat Mitzrayim, Makat Bechorot. Hashem went and made a miracle. He took the night and turned it to day. It was as bright as daytime in the middle of the night. So that when he took out Klal Yisrael, no one should say that we snuck out of Egypt. But it's as if we walked out in the bright of day, like kings, like free men. Why did he do that? Why did Hashem go and make a nes in order to take the night and turn it into daytime? Couldn't he just wait until morning? Let the sun come up, and at the end of the night, we'll just walk out, daytime, daybreak, and we'll walk out, free men, in the bright of day. Like this, no one would suspect that we snuck out. And the answer the rabbis tell us is an amazing answer. And this is the message of the matzah. Hashem wants us to know, Anochi imcha batzara. I am with you in every moment of your tragedy. I'm with you in every moment of your hardship. I am suffering with you in every single moment of your difficulty. How much you feel it as the one who loves you like a parent, I feel it as much, if not more, than you do. And I will not allow you to stay in your suffering, not even 1 second longer than need be. And therefore, the second that tikkun of Mitzrayim was over, I got you out of there so fast that I wouldn't let you even wait till morning. I was suffering as much as you were suffering. I was suffering more. And when I saw your suffering, I was waiting with bated breath for the second to get you, my kid, out of there. And the moment that Yetziat Mitzrayim was able to be done, I wouldn't let another second go by. I took you out of there in the moment that I was able to, and I didn't let you wait another second. That's why I took you out in the middle of the night. That's why I was ready to make miracles. Because I love you so much. I wouldn't let you suffer in your situation, not 1 second more than you had to. Believe me. Vayiritzuhu min habor is the way it says by Yosef HaTzadik. Yosef HaTzadik was thrown into the bor. He was suffering. And Hashem said, Yosef, I'm suffering as much as you are down there. But I promise you, I won't let you suffer a second longer than need be. And the second that Yosef was able to finish his tikkun, the minute he was able to get out of there, not just Hashem took him out of the bar, Hashem ran him out. He ran him out of the problem. Hashem says, I ran you out of Egypt. I won't let you suffer in your problem a second longer than need be, because I love you more than you know what love means. So don't you give up on me. That's the message of the matzah. 18 minutes, an 18-minute matzah is a kasher matzah. 18-minute and 1 second, it's chametz. Because I know the difference in 1 second of suffering. I will not let you suffer more than 1 second. Wow, what a yesod. And that is the reason why the matzah is referred to as Nahama Dimhemnuta. This is the bread of emunah. Because this bread screams out that Hashem didn't let us stay in our suffering in Egypt for not even a second more than we had to. The moment he was able to get us out, he whipped us out of there. I won't let you suffer a second longer. And I know you're going through problems. And I know you're going through terrible issues. And I know the tikkunim and the difficulties that you're going through in life. And sometimes they're so painful. But I will not let you stay in your problem a second longer than you need to be there. I want you out of there more than you do. Rely on me. Be boteach in me. Only come to Hashem. Only lean on Him. Rely on Him. Cry to Him. Hashem says, Rohi, I will take you out the second I'm able to. I won't let you stay in there a second longer. Because 18 minutes and 1 second is already chametz by me. That's chametz. I will not allow chametz. Just like I will not allow the suffering of the Jewish people a second longer than need be. And this is true for every Jew in every problem. You need to believe. Rely on Him. Just like what He did in Mitzrayim. He does to every Jew. The second I am able to get you out, the minute your tikkun is over, I won't let you stay in there a second longer than need be. It's amazing. The world thought Rabashkin was going to be sitting in that jail 30, 50, 60 years. That was the verdict. And they appealed to the high courts once. Denied. Twice. Denied. A third time. The Court of Appeals. Denied. That's it. He was done. He was done. Hashem said, you think he's done? I'm not going to let him sit in that jail for 1 minute more than I decreed for whatever reason. 8 years, 8 months, and 8 days. And not a minute more. Because 18 minutes and 1 second is already chametz. I don't stand for chametz, says Borei Olam. I will not allow your suffering to rise one more second than need be. I am there with you. I am suffering with you. I am carrying you, and I will get you out the second that it's possible for your tikkun to end, and not a second later. And that's the nechama of the matzah. And that's the nahama de hemnuta. This is the bread of emunah. Because when you look at this bread, and you know that this is the 18-minute bread, you remember the lesson that we ran out of Egypt. We were driven out of Egypt. We were run out of town. Paro threw us out. Get out of here. We got out so fast that the bread that we were attempting to bake couldn't even rise. We got out of there so fast that we got out with the matzah on our shoulder, because Borei Olam wanted to show us, I rushed you out of there because I wouldn't let you stay in your problem a second more than need be. That's chametz. That's the matzah. So we look at the matzah and we look at our problems, lechem oni, and we say, Abba, you got us out of Mitzrayim. You can take us out of any personal Mitzrayim that we're going through. And we believe that you're going to get us out so quick, and you will not allow us to stay in our problems and our personal Mitzrayim a second longer than need be. I'm relying on you to take me out of my personal Metzer Yam, my personal jail, my personal constraints, my personal Egypt. Save me, Abba. Save me. And that's what the Chatam Sofer writes. He says that this matzah is so special to us because this matzah today in Galut is the only mitzvah dioraita that we actually eat. Maror is derabanan. Arba kosot derabanan. We don't have a Korban Pesach. Matzah is the only last dioraita level mitzvah that we still have left to eat in our times. And when you eat that matzah, you're digesting emunah, piece by piece by piece. It's the nahama, the hemnuta. It's the bread of emunah. You look at that bread and you chap emunah. You remember the moment we were run out of Egypt. We remember the moment that Hashem took us out of our biggest problems, our biggest nightmares. And you wouldn't let us stay a second longer. I won't let it rise on you. And when you eat that matzah, you're eating chatichot of emunah. And when the matzah goes inside of you the night of Pesach, it dissolves in your bloodstream and it becomes a part of you. And suddenly the Jew walks out at the night of Pesach, a Baal Emunah. And that's why that's the night of Geulah. Because when you walk out of that night, you're a shtick piece of Emunah. You're literally on a flying high. You can feel Abba. You're completely reliant on Him. You're completely indulged in Him. And at that closeness, there's no wonder how can't Eliyahu walk through that door? There's so much to say. But once you hear this, what else can you say? I just want to end off with an amazing story. Amazing story. People that thought they were in their biggest problems. And they hit the point where they realized no one else but Hashem could take him out. And mamish, the miracles that Hashem has done. I was coming out of the mikveh a few weeks ago, and I bump into a guy, sweetheart of a guy, Ashkenaz guy. His name is Weissman. Beautiful guy. He says to me, Rabbi, I have a story for you. I said, thank God someone's keeping me in business. Let me hear, what do you got? He says, no, this is very special. I said, please, let me hear. He says, a Syrian girl from the community, she was married to a guy. And let's just say, the guy was a horrible husband. We're not going to go into the abusive. We're not going to go into the detail. It was just really a bad situation. And she was trying, this poor girl, she was trying so hard to do everything she could to make the marriage better. She thought, if I do this, if I do that. I mean, she tried everything. But no matter what she did, the marriage only got worse. It came to a point where she was so broken and so beaten. One day, she walked into a store in the neighborhood, and a lady walks up to her, an Ashkenaz lady, out of the blue. And she sees on her that she was so broken that literally a stranger approaches and turns to her and puts an arm around her and says, you look so broken. What's the matter? Talk to me. Maybe I can help you. Ashrechem Yisrael. And, this young girl says, it's funny, you open up sometimes to a stranger better than to someone who's close. She just pours it all out. She just bursts out crying in the store, and she just pours it all out on this lady's shoulder and tells her about the misery of what she's going through in this marriage and how it's only getting worse no matter what she does. So this lady turns to her and says to her, are you boteach in Hashem? Yeah. You have emunah that Hashem's going to help you? Yeah. Okay. Then, Be'ezat Hashem, in the zechut of the tzaddikim, I'm going to give you something very special to do. And in the zechut of some great tzaddikim, maybe Hashem will help you. I want you to go and light a candle for a great tzaddik, Reb Menachem Mendel ben Reb Yosef Miriminov. The famous Reb Menachem Mendel Miriminov, tzaddik v'kadosh. I want you to light that candle, and I want you to daven to Hashem and say, in the zechut of this great tzaddik, Reb Menachem Mendel Miriminov, please, Hashem, save my marriage. She said, okay. She went home and she said, Hashem, I'm putting my bitachon in you. But of course, in the zechut of tzaddikim, we could be zoches sometimes to Yeshuot. So she started lighting a candle every day for 40 days. And when she light the candle, she davened to Hashem and asked for the Yeshuah. In the zechut of this great tzaddik, Rabbi Menachem Mendel ben Rabbi Yosef Miriminov, on the 40th day that she lights the candle, that night, her husband comes home, and without going into detail, this girl found out that night certain things about her husband and what he did that she knew right then and there, the marriage is over. Over. It's done. On the 40th day, it's done. Shortly right after that, she got her get, and she was divorced. And she said to herself, here I am, davening to Hashem, putting my bitachon in Hashem, lighting candles b'zchut the great tzaddikim kedoshim, hoping on the 40th day I get answered. My marriage would finally become something worth living for. And exactly the opposite took place. Hashem, what did you do to me? I relied on you. In the zechut of the great tzaddikim. What did you do to me? Girl was shattered. Why didn't you take me out of my Mitzrayim? Why didn't you take me out of my Mitzrayim? Well, a few years later, this girl meets a wonderful guy. And she gets remarried. Second husband, for him it was a second wife. New husband, new wife. Right after the wedding, their first Friday night meal together at home, the new husband with a new wife, the husband turns to his wife with a big smile and he says, I'm telling you, I'm so happy tonight. Here I am sitting with my new wife on the night of the yahrzeit of my great-great-grandfather, Reb Menachem Mendel ben Reb Yosef. She said, what? You're the great-great-grandson of Reb Menachem Mendel Miriminov? He looks at her and says, huh? How does a Syrian girl know that Reb Menachem Mendel ben Reb Yosef is the famous Reb Menachem Mendel Miriminov? She said, are you joking? I lit candles and I begged Hashem and I was boteach in Hashem and I asked in the zechut of this tzaddik. I lit candles for 40 days for Reb Menachem Mendel ben Reb Yosef to save me from my marriage. Little did I know that Hashem was going to send me his grandson. Wow. Just when we thought that we were in a problem, and just when we thought that we weren't helped, Hashem has his ways. And he promises us, I won't let you in there for not a second longer than you need be. And I will get you out to that Geulah so quick. But all I'm asking you to do is rely on me. I looked at this guy when he told me this story. And I said, really? Wow. And then he smiles and he says, yeah, Rabbi, that's my story. I said, what? He says, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Weissman. And I am the Einikel, the great-great-great-grandson of Reb Menachem Mendel ben Reb Yosef Miriminov. And that was my wife, my second wife. You had to see the look on her face when I told her that first Friday night together that I was the great-great-grandson of the rabbi she was lighting candles for, asking for clarity and guidance in her first marriage, thinking that she never got answered. Little to know that not only did Hashem answer in the zechut of Reb Menachem Mendel ben Reb Yosef, but he literally sent her the great rabbi's grandson. That's my story, Rabbi. Sometimes it's dark. And sometimes it's bitter. And somehow or other, he knows how to make it from the bitter to sweet. Remember the matzah. Nahama de hemnuta. And every bite we take is another bite of emunah, another bite of bitachon. The memory, never to forget. I'm suffering now, but I know that Abba is going to take me out. And I know that he's not going to let me stay in this problem for a second longer than need be.